Thank you very much, Tom, for joining us this evening. Whereabouts in the world are you now? You've got a very summery t-shirt on, so somewhere hot and sunny, I hope.
Yes, summary in t-shirt. The background doesn't look particularly exciting. I'm actually in Mexico, and I've been out here working for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, very grateful to be in the sun and the warmth, even if it's just looking through the window.
Yeah, and it makes a change to what we've just seen in the film as well, with the very cold, yeah, and the snow and all of that. So I guess we'll start at the very beginning. Well, firstly, congratulations on the film as well. I know this has been quite a long rollout as well since you first premiered the film last year. How did you get involved with Firebird? Because of course you're not only the star, but you're also a credited writer as well.
Yep, and one of the producers and the music supervisor.
There you go, everything.
Now, those kind of things kind of crept in, they kind of crept in sneakily. Well, I just finished shooting two different films in the UK, one called Kingsman, The Secret Service, the other called The Theory of Everything. And I was actually doing some work in Los Angeles, and I was introduced to a producer, a film financer, who had actually just read Peter Rabane's first draft of Firebird, which was then called Roman at the time. And she was like, oh, I think you'd be really good to play the lead in this film. I'll introduce you when you're back in London, because Peter was based in London at the time. And so anyway, we got introduced a couple of weeks later, and then he sent me the script, and I was like, wow, like this is like a fascinating story, and in a backdrop and an era which has always interested me. I've always been fascinated by like the Cold War period and by Soviet Union and you know, all the propaganda posters of the time. And there's something so amazing about that era of time, that it took both the relationship and the backdrop to merge together in such an interesting and original way. And also questions about kind of going, how on earth could a story like this have happened at that time, which really caught me. So Peter and I decided to shoot a teaser actually to help raise the financing for the film. That was in 2016 July. Wow. Which seems like forever ago. And I was, you know, engaged to play Sergei in this teaser. And then I started making some suggestions at some point about how the script could be improved a bit, or we could change some of the dialogues or make something sound a little bit more realistic. And then that led to a good 2.5 years worth of rewriting, restructuring, and many new drafts with Peter. And that took us to Russia and to go to meet the real Sergei actually in person, get to know him, and then yeah, we basically onboarded the financing. We cast the rest of the movie in 2018. Basically, the majority of 2018 through to when we started shooting in September was casting and getting the rest of the money in place. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, of hard work, love and labor. And what was it like meeting with the real Sergei? And well, presumably he was on board with the whole idea. Did he love it? Was he excited to see it? Kind of, obviously he wrote it as a book first and foremost. So was he excited for it to reach a new audience, or what was that relationship with him like?
Yeah, it was incredible to get to meet the person that you're going to play. It was also huge pressure, to be honest. But he didn't speak any English, and I didn't really speak any Russian. So Peter kindly was able to translate, and really like my main questions were really like, where does the line between reality end and fantasy begin? Because in the book, one of the biggest jobs we had to do as the screenwriters was to make the film sunk into the time in which it's set, because it's written in hindsight many years later. we had to put in the sociological, political context of the time. And so the book makes it sound, the relationship sound almost idealistic. And it was just like, how is this possible? And the strength of the connection between Sergei and Roman is just like amazing. And that really resides actually in the finished cut of the film, but the context wasn't there. So like the kind of the severity of the Air Force Base and the awareness of the KGB and this state of paranoia, that wasn't so much like there present in the book. So yeah, really the meeting with him was to find out those answers, and also, you know, just asking questions like, you know, what kind of food do they eat, like what do they get up to, and really sort of like how the relations were between him and Roman, and really how it even came about and how they kept it under wraps, and really also asking him about Louisa. And probably actually the biggest change we made from the original story was the representation of Louisa. In the original story, she's kind of portrayed as a formidable drunk, honestly. And we really wanted to actually represent the female perspective in a very authentic and very true way, giving her perspective and her voice. But he was very excited by having, you know, the film made, and it was one of the last wishes he had, to come to the premiere in London. But you know, sadly, he passed away in 2017, and we went to the funeral in Russia, and it was a surreal moment of my life where I'm standing in a Russian Orthodox church, and there's all this sort of incense being swayed around, and there's all these prayers being done, and there's the coffin in the middle of the chapel, and I'm like going like, this is surreal. Like, I'm gonna leave this man's legacy in this film. And so I kind of made a pledge at that time to go, you know, I'll do everything I can to play you in the way that does you justice in your story and how you would like to be remembered. So yeah, it was quite full on experience.
Yeah, heavy. Well, I think you do him like justice, and you would have made him proud as well. And the fact that, you know, the film is being screened at festivals all over the world. You're going to be screening in like cinemas all over the world, like from now as well. This story is going to reach so many people that it probably wouldn't have reached otherwise. So that's really exciting, and something, you know, it's his legacy as well that you've helped bring forward and bring to audiences like those watching the film tonight and watching this interview now following it. How did you go about casting Roman? Was there anyone you had in mind straight away, or that kind of attached earlier on, or was it one of kind of like the last pieces of the puzzle?
We spent a long time casting the film, actually. It actually even began before 2018. I guess even like the autumn of 2017, we began looking. And, you know, for an independent production, with a kind of modest but decent independent film budget, reaching out to some names, we kind of began with that process. We had a sort of wish list of, you know, let's say famous people who would have been really cool to play Roman. But, you know, it's very difficult to kind of get anywhere like into the attention of some of these very big stars, because they have everybody like kind of coming after them with all kinds of exciting projects. So we were just one of another. And so we kind of like ended up then just deciding, okay, well, if we can't get a name, we'll basically just go on with finding the absolute best person for the job. And we kind of were just uncompromising on finding the best person for the job. And so we saw a lot of people. I think our casting director went through like 2,500 self-tapes for
Wow.
the other principal characters in the film. So that would have been Roman, Louisa, the KGB major, and also Volodya, Sergei's best friend. And we looked a lot in England, also in Germany and quite a lot in mainland Europe, and we met some amazing actors, really, really great actors, and who were so very truthful with the with the scenes, but they just didn't have the essence of what we both felt what Roman was. And so then we started looking further afield, and we were like, okay, let's look in Russia and in Ukraine and sort of like further afield. And then actually we were casting in Moscow, and we asked Oleg to come to the audition there, and he walked into the room and we were like, well, he is Roman. And it was kind of even before he even started doing the scenes. When you're casting, I believe there is such a quality in which somebody holds that you end up casting that person. It's not to say that you then obviously are acting and all the rest of it, but there's something about finding somebody who really embodies the way they move, how they feel as a person. So yeah, it was quite a long search for him and Louisa, but I think it came out all right in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And am I right in thinking that some of those scenes as well were like that when you're in Russia, for example, is it on the bridge, that was actually filmed in Russia?
Yeah.
And how do you go about, like, with a producer hat on, how do you go about kind of organizing that? How much of the production do you have to make known to whoever signs off on that, or do you just kind of film it a bit more guerrilla style and then worry about that later?
Well, it was kind of a combination of both, really. Yeah, we had a local production team actually who were really, really supportive, and they made that possible. That's the interesting thing about working in Russia, is that you can make a lot of things possible, and there's a lot of bending of the rules if you're willing to, finance things. So yeah, I mean, we were really, really fortunate to have this and find this local production team to help us when we were there and shooting on site. And we were filming like literally on this bridge, which is outside the Kremlin, which would have been very difficult to do. And I think if you just turned up and tried to start shooting like guerrilla style entirely, then somebody would kind of shut you down in a matter of minutes. But yeah, we filmed quite a bit actually, and so like there's the scene opposite the Kremlin, and we went to sort of like where the Moscow University is, where Sergei and Louisa walk away as well from the university where Sergei is studying. And we didn't manage to utilize actually that much of the footage that we shot in Moscow, because we just found that it just really wasn't needed in the end. But we wanted to have some of these very truthful, real, sort of Stalinistic architectural structures like within the film, to give it that authenticity, rather than shoot it on a green screen or something which felt like a little bit more forced.
Yeah. And of course, the film was going to screen in Russia, in Moscow, I believe. What happened that obviously now that the film is in the can, you're trying to, well, show it to as many people and many audiences as you can. I believe there was some kind of interference with the film festival that you're supposed to be showcasing it.
Yeah, we submitted it to the Moscow International Film Festival it would have been around April time last year, and we honestly never thought that they would even accept the film. And Peter said that he would eat his hat if we ever got him to that festival, which I think actually he's still due to eat the hat. But yeah, we got in, and they basically, booked us in for 2 screenings, like in-person live screenings, which they were actually doing at the time, even in the middle of the pandemic, which was amazing. But Moscow was still very much open then. And so the first screening went ahead, and there was a pretty decent turnout of people going to watch the film. And then following that first screening, there was a letter sent to the state prosecution office saying that the film should be removed from the festival. And then there were 93 press articles written actually about the film after it aired, and 92 of them were inherently negative. because effectively the law there, which is this anti-humanistic law, which is, you know, basically you can't promote homosexual propaganda. Basically, they said that, you know, like people can't write anything positive about this film. And then we had protesters outside the second screening with banners saying "Stop homosexual propaganda." And then, yeah, for the second screening, we actually had a whole load of guests coming, which had been held by the British Embassy there, and lots of like very high-profile individuals and sort of broadcasters and people really wanting to see the film, and actually, again, were like really impressed that there was some sort of movement potentially happening, you know, in Russia, because, you know, this has been programmed. But then what happened then is that they cancelled all the tickets. They didn't allow anybody into the auditorium, and we were effectively silenced. And the screening went on, but like with nobody inside. So they didn't technically like ban us, but they silenced us, which was really sad.
50-50, you still managed to get one screening in as well, which is a huge feat in and of itself. And as we said before, you know, the film is continuing to reach people as well. Where was I believe you shot most of the film in Estonia, and the main thing that I think of that is, obviously, usually with a film, for budget constraints, you want to shoot in one place for as small amount of time as you can. However, I don't feel that, you know, you waited for the frozen lake or sea on the beach there to actually melt for you to go and film in the water. How far apart were those scenes shot? Because it's beautiful kind of bookmarking there of the two.
Actually, yeah, that so the initial going into the water scene with the three friends, and then also this intimate scene, that was shot in September 2018. And then, yeah, we did the snowshoe, which was for the following February, so February 2019. But that was like it wasn't like a pickup shoot, but it was like we just scheduled these couple of days, which ironically enough, it didn't snow for the rest of the parts. So like when Sergei is collecting the Christmas tree, for example, and then when Volodya and Sergei are arguing outside after the party, both of those, it was supposed to snow and supposed to be very wintry, and we literally had to bring in snow from where it all piled up in a whole different part of the city where they store it, and then just literally cover the ground in snow, because it didn't snow in February like it's supposed to in Estonia, which was unfortunate. But actually, like, funnily enough, actually on the west coast where we shot that sea scene with the rock, funnily enough, actually the sea had frozen there still, which was actually really good because it had been that much colder in the west. So we actually did manage to do that one for real.
Oh, that's amazing. And so what's next for, you know, for the film going forward, and for you as well? Yeah, when will people, after tonight, obviously everyone's just seen it, but when's the next opportunity that people might be able to see it?
Well, we have a UK cinema release confirmed for the 22nd of April. And we're not exactly sure which cinemas it's going to be in now, but it's definitely going to be a theatrical release in the UK then, and then closely followed by the US on the 29th. We've got a pretty sizable release actually happening on the 29th of April. And then we'll be in Germany opening as well in about the middle of May. So that's kind of like really amazing to have in place. And, you know, it's taken a long time to get us here. But yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the film, then please do go and support us, because we have a lot of money to make that. And yeah, as regards to sort of next steps as well for me personally, I mean, well, I mean, I'm still continuing to have castings as well, like as an actor, and, you know, meet for potential new projects. And I got utterly heartbroken last week by getting down to the last few for like a phenomenal new project. But it didn't happen this time, which took me several days to get over. That's the joy of being an actor. And then also I will continue to write. I've got a number of different projects that are very important to me to write, and I also really love the process of writing. So I will continue to do that. But it's a good old slog to have to make your own stuff, but very, very rewarding, I have to say.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And yeah, we look forward to seeing what you do next, both in front and behind the camera on paper as well. So thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.